22-year-old Nathanial Kangas was found to be guilty of shooting 2 Alaska State Troopers in Tanana. Nearly 100 people crammed into the courtroom waiting to hear the verdict. Sarah Dubowski was one of them. This is her report.
We, the jury, find the defendant Nathanial L. Kangas guilty of murder in the first degree of Trooper Sergeant Patrick Scott Johnson, of Trooper Gabriel Gabe Rich.
Nathanial Kangas was found guilty of first-degree murder of Trooper Gabe Rich and Sergeant Scott Johnson. He was also found guilty of assault 3 for pointing a gun at Village Public Safety Officer Mark Haglin and guilty of tampering with physical evidence for destroying wheat plants after the murder. Kangas was found not guilty of tampering with the slain officer's weapons.
Well, I mean, it's a difficult trial. It's in my 16 years of prosecuting, it's been the most difficult and emotional case I've ever done. It was an important case, and I think the jury listened to the evidence and they returned the correct verdicts.
The defense attorney, Greg Parvin, says the case was difficult because they weren't allowed to argue certain theories of law they had hoped.
Well, we're disappointed with the verdict. There's no question about that. But the evidence came in as we thought it would come in. I think some of the arguments that we needed to make were supported by the evidence, but I think not being able to argue for self-defense or some other theories of law we were hoping to argue, with those not being available, made for a very difficult row to hoe, as they say.
During the trial, the defense did not call any witnesses. Parvin says the evidence was not in disagreement. Kangas's mental state was.
The witnesses we needed for our case that would have relevant, admissible testimony testified. Their evidence came in through other means, through the state's case, and so there were no other witnesses. The facts of the case were not in dispute. What was in dispute was what Nathanial Kangas's state of mind was when he pulled the trigger.
The prosecution, led by Greg Olson, says Nathanial's father, Arvin Kangas, was the reason the troopers came to Tanana, but it does not decrease Nathanial Kangas's culpability for the murders.
Well, I mean, I think that it's clear not to discount Nathanial Kangas's responsibility in what he did. And we could say this about a lot of things in our life. If Arvin Kangas had cooperated with the troopers, we wouldn't be here today. If Arvin Kangas hadn't have caused problems on the 30th of April, we wouldn't be here today. We can always look back and find points that would have changed what did happen, but that doesn't reduce Nathanial's responsibility for killing the 2 troopers.
A hearing will be held Friday to set a sentencing date. Sarah Dubowski reporting.